And it should be going here. Here we go. All right, Shirley, if you are ready to go, I am ready to go because it says we are live.
I am ready.
All right. Hey, everybody. Mike Lawson here with CUbroadcast. We are reporting live. Well, semi-live. I'm remote once again, but oh my gosh, Shirley Senn from CU Strategic Planning. Oh my gosh, you're now my on the ground reporter, if you will, or on the spot reporter. You are back with us again, and this time you are at the AACUC CU Leadership Convention in Las Vegas. Last week you were at the World Credit Union Conference in Boston. You were getting the frequent flyer miles these days, Shirley. Well, congrats on that.
With all the delays, I guess we're patronizing different airlines these days, but hey, whatever gets you to where you need to go, we'll do that. Yes, it's been kind of a whirlwind. I remember starting in credit unions 30 years ago, and it was like we would call conference season, April, May, June, and then we had the summers off, but not anymore.
No, it goes all the way through. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's just so much going on and so many different things to discuss and learn. And I mean, every one of these conferences I've been to has been, if you want to call it capacity, I mean, it's been full and energetic. And this year is the first year that AACUC and the Credit Union Leadership Conference have combined this year. And it's definitely given an interesting perspective.
On that, because again, this is the first year the two organizations have partnered up to put on this event. So what's your take so far?
I think it's definitely been interesting in the fact that I think when you look at what the normal draw is for the CU Leadership Conference itself, it is definitely a different age group and a different dynamic from the credit unions themselves. And I will have to say personally that the AACUC has definitely given a whole new level of vibe to the conference. DEI Tuesday was just awesome here. In terms of Trellis sponsored a karaoke or lip sync contest. But yeah, it was just, everybody was engaged, and it was just really set the tone for the week. I've been getting up energized every morning. I'm not normally an early riser to go to work. I'll get up early, but then I'll kind of puddle around in the mornings. But I mean, every morning for the last 2 days, I've just been really pumped and ready to get down here because it is a different perspective. We've got different tracks here. There's 5 or 6 different tracks leading everything from human resources to DEI to marketing to lending to finance. So there's something for everybody. But I will say that the last 2 sessions I've been in that were in the DEI Summit have been literally standing room only. They've had to turn people away.
Wow.
And I think that's a really good sign that while some may think that the DEI and the belonging and acceptance is dissipating, it's definitely not dead, and it needs to stay. And what we're seeing from the various participants in these breakouts have really solidified that. And so they're really challenging all the credit unions here to ensure that the concepts and the philosophies and everything just simply becomes another thread that's woven into that credit union tapestry. And it's important. We need to understand that as leaders, DEI is not just about race and gender and ethnicity. It's based on so many other different opportunities, whether we talk about disabled or we're talking about individuals that are getting out of prison. I mean, there's so many different concepts of what this entails, and we need to look at it in a much broader context.
I agree.
And through a different lens to be able to make sure that, again, where credit unions we need our credit unions to stay relevant from so many different angles. And that's just one of multiples that they've had here. But the context of what they're bringing from the leadership standpoint and from that DEI-BA standpoint has just, I've actually had to go get another note. I'll put a plug in here for Zest AI because they were really nice to give me another journal because I'm still one of those, as somebody, we have the YPs here, the young professionals, and then somebody has coded us people over 50 as OPs, the old people.
Really?
So I will be an OP, but us old Ps, I still like to use pen and paper. And I've been taking so many notes. So Zestai was very gracious and gave me another notebook to start for the afternoon. So,
well, good on those folks at Zest AI. They're always there for you. So yeah, good for them for supplying you with plenty of paper and pencil to take
yes.
plenty of notes. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Any other highlights to share with us before we dive into the topic here? Any
Oh,
speeches, anything
definitely.
like that, or?
Yes. So they had Jackie Joyner-Kersee,
Oh yeah, that's
which
right.
obviously she's been tagged as the greatest woman athlete of all time. You know, and it's interesting because I think, you know, from this side, from the media, if we don't know somebody's story, we get enamored with the medals and the awards and the
Mhm.
media attention.
Yeah.
But pulling that back and listening to her story and how she grew up and what she's encountered and how she's giving back to her community today was very awe-inspiring. She is very heavy into working with youth education. Her and her husband have started their own academy in underserved areas where they live, and just the graciousness and the give back. But her challenge to everybody, to stay committed, stay the course, don't give up.
Right.
Goal setting, just the traditional things that we tend to think about with leadership, but on just a whole different scale and concept. And then this morning we had Stephen Covey's son,
Oh, yeah.
right, to come in, and pretty much just has continued to follow his father's role in terms of the leadership concepts. But one that really stuck to me, I think sometimes when we use the word trustworthy and trust, we kind of use them interchangeably, and he really made it emphatic this morning to understand that you have to be trustworthy plus trusting to have trust.
I agree. Yeah, that's
so it's stuck in my mind. I think other people have been talking about that as well, but I think it just kind of goes back to understanding your own leadership roles. There's nothing wrong with being a servant leader and understanding what that means. Part of that concept that stuck again in my mind was, I think oftentimes people think that when they've been labeled as a servant leader, that means that they're second in command or a co-pilot.
Oh gosh.
And all it is, I think I think it's a type of leadership that more of us should be embracing. For lack of better terms, I kind of would relay it to, if you're a lieutenant in the Army, and while you've still got to lead your platoon, getting down there in the trenches and not being afraid to work with them as a part of that team is, to me, I think shows what that servant leadership could look like. And why that becomes important is because, as we were talking about the millennials, but particularly Gen Z, and now we're talking about Gen Alpha. I've got to get back to my Greek alphabet here. But, they were talking about how that servant leadership is something that is more embedded in our younger professionals today, and how we're going to have to look at ways to accommodate their needs for training. Because if we look at the age gap between somebody my age, which I'm pushing 60, and we're even looking at somebody that's in their mid-20s, early 30s, there's a difference on how we approach and how we lead, and we need to be embracing of that transition, whether it's from the old peas to the young peas, or the young peas up to the old peas.
And the MPs, the middle folks,
there
folks
you
in the
go.
middle there. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of P's out there right now, but yeah, it's all good. And I'm a huge proponent of servant leadership as well. I think there's just nothing but good that can come from it. So yeah, so I'm all in on that as well. And I'm actually kind of surprised that Jackie Joyner-Kersee wasn't at the Olympics, but the timing of her talk has got to be incredible.
She literally, I think, was, as soon as she finished this, was headed over to Paris. Yes.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. All the track and field takes place next week. Okay. Got it.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, all right, that makes sense. All right. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the topic that you want to talk about, kind of a continuation of our discussion last week from the World Credit Union Council, or conference rather, No Credit Union Left Behind that we all experienced at GAC through the underground.
Right.
You wanted to focus on the importance of leadership opportunities for small credit unions. And that's a really good, your servant leadership talk here, your take here is a great segue to that.
Yes, I mean, I think that's been a topic that's been top of mind for a lot of us as we look at how many CEOs of all size credit unions are, looking towards retirement or already in that transition. who do we have in place? Who do we have as a part of that succession plan to take over the helm, if you will? And, when we look at what the needs are and what our young professionals are looking for, and when you're in a small credit union situation, a lot of times we've had the managers there, the CEOs have been there for 10, 20, 30, maybe even 50 years. And, that is a part of their DNA. So, but unfortunately, in some cases, have they trained the staff, the middle management of the staff, to take over that transition? And if they have, then it becomes a topic of compensation as part of that, but also it becomes a topic of work-life balance, and it becomes a topic of how does the credit union and all of the partners that surround that credit union contribute back in terms of its social impacts and so forth. So there's a lot of things we have to look at differently from their lens in order to make these transitions. And so when we talk about these small credit unions and trying to bring in the young blood, the young professionals, we really have to start engaging, I think, in some more deep and sometimes hard conversations to look at what that transition is going to look like. And, this isn't a matter of, egos or, thinking that somebody is the only person that's going to be able to run that credit union. We have to look at this like a business. And, some of the things that I've been hearing is that when we're really truly looking at those transition and succession plans for a CEO to retire, I mean, we should be looking at a 5-year period, a mapping of this, so that we can ensure that the right people are either in place or being brought up into those roles so that they will have the opportunity. And then it's important, really important, that the person that's at the helm retires.
Yes.
Because we have invested, those credit unions and boards have invested so much time and money, as well as the staff, in honoring this transition. So, even if we have good intentions, this may be part of the problem, is that we have people in place and then a CEO is not retiring.
They decide to stay on for another couple of years.
Yes.
Or something? Is that what you're finding?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. No. But if it's a plan that you had put in place 5 years ago and strategically brought in people, to be able to take that, and now you've lost all the time invested in those resources, and for someone to move on, because if I'm a young professional, I'm wanting to obviously do good, but I also want to have the ability to be able to learn and grow and ensure that the credit union remains relevant, as well as the CEO themselves. So I think it's going to be something that, some of these topics, like I said, are already happening. We see a lot of emerging councils. I know a couple. There's the Emerging Leaders Council out in California. I believe it's Hector leads that up, and they've got some very good programs. I know of one that happened earlier this year in Kentucky. It's 1 day per month for 6 months, and it's a very intense. It starts really at the basics, going through, credit union philosophy and the credit union basics and financial basics, and and it's encapsulating everything from a starting point for some of these emerging leaders to know what are those areas of development they need to concentrate in, what are their passions, and then integrating that into projects and basically a graduation. So if you will, maybe it's a very shortened CUNA management school or AACUC management school. But yeah, we have to invest in these young professionals. We have to invest not just time and resources, but also, listen to them and what they're looking for, because while, people my age and older have been a part of that credit union system for decades now, and we've done good work, we have to be able to make that good transition to bridge our knowledge and transfer that to them. So, I'm also kind of stepping up and taking, a part of that as well, because I feel like there's still some good years left in this old horse, but, taking a deliberate and intentional approach and mingling with the millennials and the Gen Zs and finding out what's important to them, but also having them be respectful and allow me in those conversations.
Yeah. Good point.
Right, because even almost to a point of reverse crashing, if you will, in some of their activities.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I was joking about it, but I think there was a group that had actually done that in one case. I don't remember which state it was, but I love this movement. I've been in it for more than 30 years. We have so much potential within those young professionals. We've just got to make sure that we have the tools to make them successful, and to help us move into our retirement and allow us to enjoy what we've built for ourselves, and to allow that next generation to take over and continue to grow this movement and continue to make it relevant for so many people, and especially the small credit unions, as we continue this journey about talking about no credit unions left behind, how integral those small credit unions in particular are in our inner cities and in our rural communities, and really engaging in providing those opportunities for those young professionals to be enticed to go to those small communities, or to stay within their communities to make those opportunities come to life.
Because a lot of those smaller credit unions, this is where those young leaders can really get an opportunity to really to lead, to start their leadership journey, if you will. So
yes.
and that's so important to get that experience, and then really, I mean, who knows, maybe one of these credit unions, or maybe a whole bunch of them, can take off like a rocket, and just continue to do some wonderful things with a young leader helping move it forward. So there's lots of opportunity on both sides of the coin, not for just for the small credit union, but for the young leader as well, so they can both rise up together.
Exactly. This isn't just about small credit unions. This issue of making sure that we have young leaders in place to take the helm of these credit unions of all sizes is important. I forget which workshop I was in just a couple hours ago. Somebody had mentioned that it was like a 40 to 50% of the young professionals that are going through some of the education in the credit union system are leaving the system within 4 to 5 years of that education, because they're finding that those opportunities are not opening up, or they can't find the opportunity. So they're taking that knowledge and transferring out of our industry and moving it into something else. So again, really paying attention and developing those programs around their needs, just like we try to stress that in order to help the small credit unions, we've got to teach them how to fish. We can't do it for them. In these same groups of young professionals, we have to provide them the tools so that they'll know how to fish, and that when they take the helm, that they can continue to pass that down and pay it forward. Otherwise, we will continue to see more credit unions merging, unfortunately, as people continue to retire out and boards move on, and we've got to groom that next generation, even if we're talking people that are in their 40s or 50s for a board. I mean, when we look at the average age of a member being in their 50s or 60s, sorry about that.
That's
we're
okay.
live, and we get the voices in the background.
That's fine.
But when we look at the average age of a member, is not gone down in the last couple of decades, it's gone up. And if we're in the business for lending, although we're concerned about financial inclusion, that's where we get our income primarily, is off of loans. And if I know at the age of 60, I'm looking to delve into my retirement, not taking out more loans. And so we've got to obviously look at the other end of the spectrum for the young membership. And if I'm in their situation, and we talk about having our credit unions reflect our communities, again, going back to that DEIBA, it's not just about how we look, but also the age. Because again, if I'm a young person, if I'm a Gen A, Alpha, or Gen Z, or Millennial, I want to talk to somebody that understands my situation, my peers. And as much as I may want to feel that I'm 35, I have different viewpoints than someone that's 35, and different goals. And so we need to ensure that we take that into consideration in our credit unions as we're altering how we do business, and continually evolving to meet the needs of our demographics, our communities, who we're serving.
Indeed. Yeah. Well said. Well said. And I want to put you on the spot and say, hey, what are some solutions for this stuff, Shirley? I mean, how to create, I mean, we've all talked about how credit unions can get younger till we're blue in this face. So, but yeah. So, I mean, do you have any suggestions or anything based on what you've seen out there as far as getting younger membership wise and staff wise and leadership wise as well? So it sounds like there's three audiences we're serving here.
The first thing is that, the crashers we talk about at GAC, we talk about the cooperative trust under Filene. I think that as an industry, really making these opportunities, these programs more upfront. Because if you're someone that's new in the credit union space, whether you're an intern or someone that's just coming out of college to take a lending specialist position or so forth, we've got to have those out in front. So there's already things available, but I think also when we come to talking about small credit unions, I think sometimes they're not even aware of what's there. I know the leagues, a lot of the leagues do a good job of providing opportunities. But again, if you're a CEO or a board that's got their head buried and doing everything from, doing the cash till to running the credit union, you're not worried, or secondary is that training and so forth. So I think it's really, we just have to do a better job of telling our story of what's out there. Also getting engaged.
Even internally.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Well, yes. And again, it's a matter of, that the issue of resources. Everybody's wearing multiple hats in a small credit union, but again, this isn't just a small credit union issue. This is over the spectrum. And again, it's optimizing our local community relationships. I mean, while we do good in having student-run branches and getting youth education, this is also an opportunity to really capitalize on teaching and educating those youth about the credit union. I mean, Juan and I were talking this morning about how important it is to double down on helping at-risk youth, for example. And these are youth, typically the ages between 16 and 24. They're detached from school, or they may not have a job. And, unfortunately, this tends to be the category that ends up a lot in juvenile detention, and then unfortunately don't have any transition to setting themselves up for success and then end up in the prison system. And so as credit unions, I think we have such a great opportunity to work with these youth and work with them, and not just from the financial education side, but also workforce development, and get them engaged in what the credit union's doing, and provide them opportunities for jobs in the credit union.
Right.
Because, it's such a positive impact to be able to not just help them in their financial empowerment journey, but also in their, career as well. So I think credit unions have an opportunity there to engage deeper in working with their youth. And we're not talking, obviously under the age of 12, while youth education is important. This is a segment that a lot of times is also underlooked a lot, because it takes a lot of interaction, a lot of time. But I can tell you that it is so rewarding. We've worked with some credit unions that, have integrated working with their local mayor summer youth employment programs, and interacted and worked with those youth to get them engaged in getting accounts open, so that there's direct deposit of their summer pay into the credit union's account. There's the fact of even if we're talking about at-risk youth, or even youth that are in the foster care system, a lot of them tend to age out before they graduate. Get the credit unions engaged. And while this may not necessarily be a young professional topic, if we're talking about how do we integrate, almost double downing on doing what we do best, and helping people and helping those in our community, also leveraging what we do well and helping them with their education and then employing them.
Lots of opportunity out there, not only for the young professional, but the credit union too, to be that
Yes.
primary financial resource. I keep
Well,
calling it a resource, not just an institution, but a resource for so many things. So yeah,
yeah.
there's so many parameters here.
And at the end of the day, it also allows those individuals to pay it forward because they've got a personal story to tell.
Mhm.
And if the credit union has been the one that has given them that opportunity when other doors had been shut, it also opens the door for other youth that may be in that same situation as the now current CEO of a small credit union that was given an opportunity and a chance.
Yeah.
So we have a lot that we need to to gauge in our communities and look behind the curtains, for those unique opportunities and think outside the box of how we're going to help. We have some things going on in the system right now. I know Humanity is working with the California Credit Union League and with George Hoffheimer and Tracy Kenyon and their development of a 12-month program. I mean, there's things that are going on, and while those will be definitely impactful as they roll through their pre-education processes and what that's going to look like and get that developed into a more best practice model, there's still just little things credit unions can do. Be a mentor, work with your local boys clubs and girls clubs with these youth that are sitting in those ages of 16 to 24. Like I said, work with your local, if you happen to have a local prison system or juvenile detention, go in there and start working with them, on their financial education, and also working with them, get engaged with the local workforce development agencies or your career source centers, because there's lots of opportunities. There's a plethora of individuals looking for work. And, I know when I came into the credit union space, I was a little bit unknowing of what it was like, but this is an industry that has pretty much been my entire professional career, and I would not have it any other way. But I was also given an opportunity when I was 24. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and someone took a chance on me.
And here you are.
So again, it's a pay it forward kind of thing. And while, we during this short time, we didn't talk about really any hard statistics or anything. I just think at the end of the day, let's continue to encourage our young professionals. Let's encourage our boards. Let's encourage our current executive management to start looking internally for candidates, get them trained up, provide them the professional development. So important, professional development. And really take a chance on, and it's not just preparing people for taking the C-suite. This is from your teller all the way up. Make sure that your entire staff is engaged, because, getting all of those young professionals, whatever age they are, to stay interacted and invested in those credit unions, I think will just make this industry much more impactful and powerful than what it already is.
Yep. Well said. And give them a career path so they know where to head.
Yes,
they know where to
exactly.
go. I remember being that age and young and starting out and everything. Gosh, if you just give me the path to that success, I will take it for sure. So, so good stuff.
And like I said, making them successful will also help in making these credit unions successful and leaving no credit union behind.
Indeed. All right. Well, that was a great way to wrap it up, Shirley. Thank you so much. Anything else to add before I let you get back to the conference there? Because I know there's probably some other activities going on today.
I am going to do a plug here, because this is one of those with the National Association of Latino Credit Unions Professionals, the CUp. Their annual conference is coming up in San Antonio. And if you look at the makeup of a lot of the leaders, Barbara as the executive director, and so many of the volunteers are these young professionals. And so I'd encourage anybody to go out to the website. It's nlcup.org. There's registration out there for that conference. And I think it's going to be an exciting one. We've got a lot of various topics, but it's also a great way to network, and you're going to see a lot of these young professionals there.
Right on. Okay, we'll put that link in the show notes too, so people can get
Awesome.
to it and register and sign up and get on over to San Antonio for sure. So good stuff. All right, Shirley, thank you so much again for your time today, and thank you again for your on the spot, on the location reporting as always. So this is kind of fun to do. We'll have to make this a tradition.
So where is Shirley next time?
Exactly. Where in the world is Shirley? So good stuff.
There you go.
All right. Thank you so much again, and enjoy the rest of your time there at the AACUC and CU Leadership Convention in Las Vegas. Well done.
Thanks, Mike.
You are welcome. And I believe that is it. Good job.